record button right. All right, there we go. Welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight, episode 45.
Woo!
Yeah.
We're one episode away from the Ghostbusters checklist of finally hitting its stride there. But speaking of hitting your stride, not even a good segue at all.
Happy St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah,
everybody.
I was going to say you tried, but I don't think so.
No. There was an attempt,
Speaking of being lucky to be here.
and that was
I
it.
Yeah.
That was all we got. So the conversation we were having off air before we clicked the button marked record and went live on the internet's not really, was what did your schools do for St. Patrick's Day growing up? My answer to that question is none that I can recall. I think
sad.
there's always been the making sure, do you wear green so you don't get pinched or whatever.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So here's I'm gonna opine for a moment with my opinions. So today at church it was excessive.
So much green.
The amount of green
was great.
that was
I was so
occurring.
happy.
And there's not, we're Methodists, and I had no issues. I'm like, whatever. You can mix your Patrick's Day with your church because that's actually kind of a good thing. St. Patrick's, St. Church, whatever. Anyway, but my thing is.
Already.
We hit the I can't even.
No. How does that go together?
Well, St. Patrick, a saint.
He's a
the
saint.
church.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess the
But
saints
we're
are
not
Catholic.
Catholic, so there's
Yeah.
Yeah.
One half a dozen of the other 200. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, Patrick Saint Church. Achievement unlocked. So I
50 gold coins for you.
woo yay! That'll buy me a hamburger.
Will it?
And
Inflation.
maybe a half a hamburger. I'm gonna need to ask for more gold from the golden pail at the end of the rainbow. So I have never been a person, and because I'm Norwegian and we never celebrated any of those things. Now, mind you, I'm a mutt, so my mom's side is mostly Norwegian. My dad's side is French, German. There's some Irish in there somewhere. We actually did search back, and we found some Irish and some Scots, but not enough to be like, ooh, we've got 50.
Not like me.
Yeah,
I'm pretty heavy.
yeah, we don't have 50%. Anyway, so I have never been a person who's like, ooh, I have to wear green today. It's St. Patrick's Day. I'm just like, it's another day, ending in Y, going to church or go to school, whatever. So I've never been like militant about wearing green, and it doesn't annoy me, but it kind of just makes me go, what? When people wear green on St. Patrick's Day, like excessively to the point of like it's a uniform almost walking into the building. I'm just like, I don't know how I feel. So I've always just been like, whatever.
Well, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh no, I'm not wearing green.
Yeah, we're gonna practice pinching on a podcast. That's what's gonna happen. That's how we do.
Physically assault each other.
Yeah, call the police. We're gonna have this situation here. So yeah, I just have never thought of St. Patrick's Day as like woo, like yay, let me go do something. So I haven't had. There was no. As far as I can remember, now there may have been in my elementary school or something, but by the time I got to middle school and high school, it was St. Patrick's Day was. I think people would probably wear green to get pinched or whatever, but I don't remember it as being a big deal. And even today, I'm just like, okay, whatever. St. Patrick's Day, moving on. So that's where I come from. We'll move over to Vicki, and then we'll move on to Phil. Anything from your school time?
So on my side of the family, my mom's mother was Scotch Irish, so her maiden name was Neely, but it used to be O'Neely.
Okay.
And they came over to the United States during the potato famine. We didn't celebrate a lot either. It was really similar, but I was always told to me growing up, this is a big part of your heritage. Like,
Yeah.
you've got a lot of Scottish in my blood too. And I'll make jokes every once in a while, like when I burn in the sun, because I tan, but I burn really easily. And I'm like, well, I just have just enough red in my hair, just enough Irish in my blood to make it exciting, where I burn easily,
Yeah.
blush easily, even my ears turn red. But you can't see it on camera because we don't have cameras in here. But I have a piece of jewelry that I got from my grandparents around my 21st birthday, and it's a Celtic kind of shape. Nice. So
Yeah.
I was like, I have to wear this today.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, but I think it's because my dad has some dietary issues, so we didn't have like corned beef or anything. My joke was always Lucky Charms. That's the closest we got to having like Irish cuisine. But I always just feel a little bit of like St. Patrick's Day. Like, I gotta do something. I'm Irish. I can't not do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that.
So there you go, Phil.
So for me, like growing up in elementary school, my elementary school always went crazy for St. Patrick's Day.
I love
I
it.
don't know why. But it would be like when we went out to like recess or something, or maybe to lunch, and we'd come back, and there would be little green footprints
Cute.
painted all over the floor, and little green handprints put on the walls and stuff, and we'd come back and have like a little bag of candy or something.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I never understood. Like, we never did any. My schools never did anything like that after elementary school.
Yeah.
There's just something about, I'll say from an elementary teacher's perspective, there's something about, especially first and second grade, like the way they get with holidays, or like if the room is decorated different, it's like,
Yeah.
they act like it's magic, and it's just so cute
Yeah.
how they get into it and they get excited. And to me, it's fun. Like, I was actually legitimately disappointed that St. Patrick's Day wasn't going to be during school, because I had like an Irish tin whistle. I was like, I could be the leprechaun. This could be fun, and now I can't.
Oh.
There's a chapter in your autobiography. I could be the leprechaun.
But yeah,
I would have fun.
Yeah.
I know we're different. You're high school, like elementary.
Yeah.
I would still do it.
I would skip down the hallway playing my little tin whistle. It would be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry,
to
Phil.
what you were saying, yeah, elementary school is huge on that.
Yeah.
I remember like loving school between Halloween and
Yeah.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
Because we got to do the decorations for everything.
Yep.
And when it was like Thanksgiving, we actually got to churn butter. Like, yeah, it was awesome.
Manual labor.
Yeah.
What a legacy.
Teaching moment. Manual labor.
Child's labor is what I was more referring to.
It's not helping.
Okay.
Even-
All right.
even
We just
better.
went on a dark turn.
Sure did. I'm trying to swerve us back. It's the fun of the holiday.
Mine was similar to Phil. They were always talking about like there's a leprechaun on the loose, and like you got to
Yeah.
look out for him and
Sure.
like find him. And I don't know. Now I have a kind of a different association with today, because we have a student whose birthday is also on St. Patrick's Day. So I'm kind of thinking about her today more than like
Yeah.
my Irish heritage. But
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So there you go. Hopefully you've taken some time. This episode will go live Monday morning at 6 a.m. So hopefully on this, listening to this, you've reflected on your memories and whatever of the Irish holiday, St. Patrick. We won't go into the history because I'm sure you can Wikipedia it yourself.
It's a cool story.
And I just
think.
we don't have the time because we have a movie to talk about.
We're a nerd podcast.
We're
not
a nerd-
a history.
Yeah.
The history can cross into it.
Someday we might
Yeah.
there might be a history, a break off of a history podcast. Julie, our social studies teacher, has expressed interest.
Oh, cool,
in
yeah.
doing a history podcast of some sort. So, and I'm a history nerd. I'm a history buff. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do a deep dive into St. Patrick's Day. I'm sure there's probably several podcasts out there who've already done the
Oh,
deep
I'm
dive.
sure.
We're not really filling anything up with anything new if we do that, but who knows? So the movie today is The Pagemaster, which stars not
Everyone.
stars.
It stars everyone.
Everyone.
It does.
Literally.
Most of the Star Trek.
Yep. So
Yep,
we're gonna
3
talk
of
about-
them.
Yep,
incredible.
we'll talk about that. Me and Vicki have seen Dune Part 2. These two have not, so we're going to hold off on discussions, and we'll see what else we come up with towards the end of the podcast. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your drink of choice as we get ready to dig in to The Pagemaster coming up next on the podcast.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please
I can sell.
talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. It's episode 45. My name's Aaron,
My name's Vicki.
I am Phil.
And I'm Zoe.
and we are back in the land of movies from the 80s, which is an interesting thing. We see
90s.
90s.
I was
Sorry,
going to say.
94.
all right.
Not even.
80s, 90s,
Macaulay Culkin, hello.
10 years difference. It felt like an 80s movie, and we'll talk about why it felt like an 80s
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, that's fair.
So the movie is The Pagemaster. It stars Macaulay Culkin and a bunch of other voices, which we'll get to. So I have never seen The Pagemaster. This
Same.
was my first time seeing
Really?
it.
Yeah.
So I was going in blind, and it's
It's a zany little movie.
it's every like. Phil, you talk about one. I think it was a couple of movies back. It was The Apartment, where you're like, if it didn't have this, or if this had been played down, it would have been a perfect movie, right?
Yeah.
There's a moment in this movie where I literally was like, what is happening and what are we doing? And that moment, if that had been removed, this movie would be a 10 out of 10, rock star, awesome, nice job, good work.
It's a cool celebration of classic literature.
Yeah, and that
yeah.
as an English nerd and an English teacher, I
Yeah, it just makes you
appreciate.
happy.
I appreciated what they did with it. So let's begin with the introduction to our lead character, Macaulay Culkin, and
Poor guy.
he is a walking
Frady cat.
Yeah.
That's a good word. I was like,
Yeah,
what is it?
some people would say he's a sissy la la, which is something I've never heard before until I moved to Fort Morgan. And
I've
someone's like,
never heard that.
Totally used.
So it's
First
I've,
for me.
I've heard it from somebody I worked with at the cafe previously. Her name is Gert. She is an older German woman. But then I actually heard it from somebody else in my classroom. One of my students was like, "Oh, you're just a sissy la la," and I was like, I didn't say anything. I was like in my head, but I'm doing cartwheels, going, "Somebody else said it. Who's not a 60-year-old German one?" So yeah, sissy la la is a thing that I've heard in this town. I've never heard it before.
Interesting.
So anyway, so he's a straight
He's a Frady cat.
Frady cat. He's a sissy la la.
Afraid of everything.
And he has
Everything can kill you.
and he has statistics on everything.
Yeah, he's like 75% of accidents are household related.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you probably spend 75% of your time at your house.
Yeah. So you're
Well, I was doing the math when he's talking about that. I think it said like, 17% accidents are household. And I'm like, well, that means if you stay outside, you have an 83% chance of getting hurt. So I
Yeah.
would go inside.
Yeah.
If I were you.
It's like the plane is safer than driving analogy.
yeah.
Because there's not nearly as many planes in the sky as there are cars on the road.
Yeah. And I still don't even. I'm just like, nope. Just put me in a car.
Yeah.
I'd rather see what's coming to kill me versus just be sitting in a plane going, am I the number? Am I the statistic? Is this where it goes? Is this how it ends? Why, God? Why?
You're not big on planes at all.
I do not
We
like
do road
planes.
trips
I
now.
hate planes. And as I've gotten older, the hate for flying has grown.
I feel
Well,
that.
now it's like, there's also like since COVID,
Well, so
flying's changed.
yes. So we're going to take a small rabbit trail. We'll get back into the movie here in a second. But the thing that freaked me out and sealed it was when the door on that plane. I love that laugh. That's a devious laugh out of Zoe.
I'm sorry. I've thought about that every time I get on a plane. I'm like, this thing could just go whoosh.
So what we're talking about is that it was one of the new Boeing 747 Maxes that was fresh off the line or whatever, and they had forgotten to put all the screws in the door to secure it.
You had one job.
So
And-
see, some countries, they just don't do air safety well.
Well, this is the United States, which we have a track record of doing it really well.
True.
And this was a situation where people were like, "I'm sorry, what?" And so the thing was that the door came out as they were like going down to land. If that had happened in air, like
They would have all been
30,000 feet, like
Yeah.
that's terrifying. And so that little laugh, I love it because you're just like, but it's terrifying. Like I just like. I know, on a train to Noteville, not even on the plane. No, we're not even no plane, no train, just an automobile. Okay, just
an automobile.
Give me four wheels and a road, and I'm good. So yeah, that's been my and like the Langoliers, which is a movie with terrifying.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No.
That guy just tearing paper.
Yeah. It's no. There's enough of it, and Lost with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've watched enough to know. No, I'm not going to fly as much as I can. I'm going to avoid it. All right, back to Pagemaster. So,
Just shaking my head. You can't see it.
so we get back to Pagemaster. So we get introduced to Macaulay Culkin. He's afraid of everything, and his parents are talking about like where they're trying to love him, and they built him a tree fort, and
He's too scared to crawl
into it. And so there's a lot of that, and then. So this is a moment in the movie where I just had to laugh. Probably the laugh that you just did, like so the next day, like kid gets up, Macaulay Culkin goes down. His dad's working on the treehouse, and he's like, "Hey, come on up. You can do it. Just take the stairs." He's like, "No, 17% or something percent chances happen on ladders or whatever."
Word.
And then
Dad is being so patient.
he pulls it up and he gets distracted, pulls it up above his dad's head, and his dad says, "Hey," and he goes, "Oh." Boom, hits his dad in the head, causing a probable concussion. Dad then falls down the ladder and onto the ground.
You caused the statistic.
And his son is
You.
his son has the audacity to say, "See, told ya."
I did it.
It's just like,
And Dad has the patience of a saint, just where he quietly goes, "Okay, I have an errand for you to run.
go to the hardware store, get more of these.
Yeah.
And I asked, I was like, did they fall out? And Vicki was like, no, he's sending him out. He's sending him away so he can't get in the way anymore. I was like, oh.
Or maybe they need to go to the doctor, make sure dad doesn't have a concussion. They don't want the kid to see.
I
It
mean,
could be
maybe.
all of it, honestly.
Because there's two parts. So the pail hits him on the head, ka-dunk, and then he falls a good probably 10, 15 feet.
Right.
So we've got
You got to go to
concussion issues.
urgent care.
We've got possible like back issues or injuries, trauma there.
There could have
I
been
mean, if that would have happened,
Okay.
if that would have happened to you, we would have gone straight to the ER.
Yeah. Thankfully, he probably landed on the grass. So the second concussion he was having was probably a softer concussion.
It's movie magic. Doesn't have to make sense.
I wonder if
Yeah.
it's like a Home Alone nod almost.
Was it before or after Home Alone?
It's 94, so it's before, right? Or
Yeah.
I think it's
or
after. No, it's
that-
after.
Is it after Home Alone?
So maybe it was
Maybe.
a little like
Yeah, there we go. Home Alone. Home Alone. We're gonna. I like Macaulay Culkin as a kid actor. I really liked him in Home Alone. Obviously, in Home Alone 2. Home Alone 2 is a little harder to take because it's like a vindictive, murdery movie. Because it's like, go to the police, Kevin, and turn yourself in and tell them what's going on, and they'll take care of you. Instead, he goes on to torture these two yahoos. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast for another time. But I like him in this movie. So he. I love it. This movie does not.
This bike is great.
Yeah.
I know you're supposed to laugh at it, but I love that bike. I kind of want it.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. When I was a kid, I wanted it too.
So-
Minus the big flag
Right,
in the
yeah,
back.
You gotta have the flag.
So he
Just
has-
for the laughs.
He has a helmet. He has,
Of course he does.
He has lights,
Headlights, literally.
headlights, and flashing yellow lights.
He's
on
prepared.
the front. And it's a full on safety bike.
Yeah,
It
safety
is-
first.
Yeah, safety first. He is absolutely committed to
They
safety.
see you coming.
Yeah,
Because sometimes you don't see bikers.
yeah.
You know?
So he wants to, and he wears a vest. He's got a vest on as well, full on, protecting himself from whatever dangers might come after him. And so he's riding his bike, being safety minded.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs up against the bullies, of course. And Vicki mentioned this. There's a girl in the mix who's making fun of him too.
I saw
Yeah.
2 girls.
Yeah.
You know,
I
you
didn't
don't
even
see
notice that.
you don't see a lot of. At least I did in elementary. A lot of like girls making fun of guys.
Yeah.
It, like if that happened, it's a really really bad sign.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so what I took it as is that nobody likes this kid. Everybody hates him, and again, we shouldn't hate kids or hate a kid, but it's leaning into the fact that this kid
It's
has no
kind
friends.
of a killjoy.
Well, he has no friends, and we'll skip ahead for a minute. He says that to the books, "You're my friend. You're my only friends." And it was like at that moment, you're just like, "Ooh, baby, that's rough, tough."
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. So then he's riding, and a storm comes up
Out of nowhere.
out of nowhere. Just
Fun fact: you can see in the reflection on his bike, the lightning rigs that are.
Oh my god.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So movie magic is fun. So when you see, like, for the most part, because I like that key in there, Phil, because when you watch a movie with rain, traditionally older movies, because newer movies will use CGI sometimes, but what you see in like The Notebook, if you ever watched The Notebook, the massive rain that they're getting soaked with is not natural rain. It's a rain rig that is like basically like lawn sprinklers on steroids. And they can then adjust them for the severity of the rain to being like a downpour or a sprinkle or whatever.
They used it in one of the Twilight movies.
Yeah.
Like there was some behind the scenes how like they were having trouble. Kristen Stewart was having trouble focusing because she's like, okay, I'm drowning.
Yeah.
Because it was just so much water.
Jeez.
So they're like, okay, can we just turn it down a little bit?
So not only do they have those going, but to Phil's point, they have lightning rigs where they're flashing
Yeah,
with
lightning.
specialized lamps and lights. And so, yeah, you've got all this going. So, yeah, it's fun to think about, like, when you're I think about it when I'm watching a movie. If I'm too bored or the movie isn't doing its job, like, I'll start being like, okay, I wonder how they did that. I wonder how they did that. Wonder how that was. And so it's a lot of fun. It also makes you not enjoy movies because you're thinking about all the technical stuff. But
Yeah.
there you
Shaking
go.
my head again, everyone.
Yeah.
I always love when there's just a random boom mic in a scene.
Yeah.
You know.
The Starbucks
Oops.
coffee in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lightsabers fight in The Last Jedi or whatever that was like terrible in the Emperor's or Snoke's little palace room, whatever. Yeah. When Hollywood doesn't do a good job. But here they did. So the lightning, and he ends up crashing outside the library.
The coolest library.
Yeah.
Literally.
Such a cool library.
Yep. So he crashes in and he doesn't get anywhere near. Well, he gets to town. So the library's in the middle of town somewhere, but he doesn't get to the hardware store. So he climbs up the steps, and we get to meet our librarian.
Yes.
Also known
Christopher Lloyd.
as Christopher Lloyd. Doc Brown and Krug in Star Trek 3, he's just amazing, and I love him to death. So yeah, Christopher Lloyd is our librarian.
I want to point out his name is Mr. Dewey.
Mr. Dewey for the
Yeah.
Dewey Decimal System. I love that nod. I'm just like, oh, that's so amazing. So he starts...
He freaked me out a little bit when I was a kid.
Really?
I can see that.
He kind of looked menacing a little bit.
Well, then he comes up to him with like this exciting smile, but then he doesn't talk for way too long.
Yeah.
Like it's freaky to a kid.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Well, and spoiler alert for later on in this podcast episode, he also voices the Pagemaster.
Right.
Yep.
And that dude is also intimidating.
Yeah, he's
he
tall. And powerful.
Yeah. So Christopher Lloyd begins to ask him, well, what are you? I know the books. I know what you want. Oh, action, adventure, horror.
Like,
And
don't
he's-
speak. I know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And the
Yeah,
kid's just like,
it's talent.
And then he gives him a library card, and the kid's like, I didn't want any of this.
No.
I just got in here out of the storm. And so Christopher Lloyd's just like,
Like, just,
Fine.
where's the phone?
it's at the far end, back in the back off to the right or whatever. And so our hero, walks that way, walks through. And Vicki asked the question. I don't have an answer. If this was an actual library or if this was a set that they had built, I think it feels like a set. It feels like there's like.
It is a really beautiful library.
It is. It's
I'm gonna
absolutely.
see. I'm gonna look it up and see
Okay.
if I find an answer.
I think it's got to be because if you pay attention to like the books in the background,
Yeah.
they're all like either red, blue, or green.
Yeah,
or
there's not really.
something like that. They're not. They
all-
don't look like real books.
They're probably more set pieces than anything.
You see way more real books in the fantasy land.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
true.
movie.
That's true. It's for whatever they did it good. Like they did a good job of it. So he gets to the rotunda, and he sees the phone. Like the phone is far away. He doesn't see it quite yet, but he looks up, and it is like the
It's like
Most
the-
beautiful
the-
mural,
Yeah.
mural to ever be in a library.
yeah. It's like Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Da Vinci Jr. did the Sistine Chapel, but he did a library. The poor man's Da Vinci was, or no, actually it was Michelangelo. Who
It was
did-
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Leonardo.
They're very different.
all the Ninja
Tell
Turtles.
Vinci-
Jamie
it
Reuters
was-
that she's gonna come for you.
Yeah, the Ninja Turtles. They were involved. It's a canon
No,
event.
Aaron.
It's a canon event.
Too much.
Yeah.
I can't even. That's too much. We've hit 2. Bingo. Collect your prize at the front.
I want my 50 gold coins.
My schmeckles.
There's been budget cuts in the program.
Yeah, apparently.
We've got the snacks you've enjoyed.
Fair.
That's our that's the show budget. It's a recession going on.
Okay, I just want to do a disclaimer. My cooking does not make up for your pushing Zoe's buttons.
Vicky's like, I had no
It's
part in
not.
this.
It's a gentle nudge. If I was gonna push her buttons, man, woof, it'd be like,
He honestly would know a lot of them, so.
let me get out my keyboard. Let's go. Anyway, so just kidding.
It's fine.
Everything's on fire, but it's fine.
Fine.
It's not fine.
Yeah, when a girl says things are fine, they're not.
So again, we've
That's very
our third one. It's fine, and we've hit the it's fine. All right, moving forward. So he's looking at the amazing wonder, and it's all obviously tied into the story.
Yeah.
like we're obviously getting some foreshadowing, and then, which for the third time we get a concussion.
Yeah.
He
The
slips.
third time?
First was the bucket. Second was the ground.
Okay.
And the third.
You're so cautious and you slip and fall in our library.
He's standing in one place and somehow slips on the water dripping from his own clothes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And gets a concussion to the point that it knocks him out for a while.
For a while.
I was like,
For a good amount of time.
I don't know.
So teen time out. First things first. He is close enough to the librarian for the librarian to have heard the boom,
Yes.
and to probably have stood up and been like, "Oh, there's a child unconscious, splayed in the rotunda. He doesn't look well. Perhaps I should alert the authorities or possibly call for an ambulance."
Maybe.
Because
This is no ordinary
that
librarian.
floor is not soft.
No.
That is a hard floor. And so we've got a concussion, third concussion of the show, of the movie, which is great. So
Maybe
then
he was teaching us about concussion.
concussion protocol. Concussion protocol was not followed in this movie. Somebody should be fired somewhere. So then he wakes up, allegedly, but not really.
Allegedly.
Allegedly wakes up
As a cartoon.
as a cartoon.
Wait, not yet.
No, not yet.
no.
No.
Oh, sorry.
So we have so much still to talk about.
He doesn't just wake up as a cartoon. Like, this is like one of the coolest transitions I've ever seen.
I like it. So here's the thing. So yeah, he wakes up and he's looking around. He's like, "Mr. Sir," and it's dark. It's like it feels as if it's night. So the movie,
I guess after closing or something.
yeah. So the movie has tricked you into thinking, oh, he actually did pass out,
Right.
And the librarian forgot about him and closed up, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen now? So the movie's amping you for something, but then it does something completely different,
Yeah.
and we get a fever dream of
A very favorite dream.
There's paint dripping.
paint. Yeah, the paint starts to drip, and you're just like, what is? First of all, your brain's going, what? Because you think it's blood, but it's not. It's yellow, and then you're just like, what's happening?
Purple and
then
blue.
he looks up, and
The melting, yeah.
it's all melting, and then it chases him.
In the form of a dragon.
Yeah, in the form
Which
of a
is
dragon.
one of the paintings on the ceiling.
Yeah. So he chases him.
Some Alice in Wonderland vibes.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And then
And
he.
you gotta think
Jabberwocky
these-
a little bit.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta
It's
think
creepy.
like the artwork in this movie is all hand painted.
So
Yeah,
here's the interesting thing
those
about
days.
that. There was some CGI in this
Yeah, a
movie.
little bit.
And here's what I wish they wouldn't have done. I wish they wouldn't have tried for the CGI. Now, it may have looked cool at the time in 94, which I'm sure it did. And you're like, ooh, wow, look at
Yeah.
that. But in 2024, it doesn't look like it's out of place.
It's been 30 years.
Yeah, if they had kept with the animation piece, I think they really could have. It wouldn't have been so clashing. Been like, oh my gosh, what is this? But yeah, no, it's to Phil's credit, it absolutely is the wildest transition, and I love it because
Yeah.
it doesn't hold back, and he turns into a cartoon.
You said that like it's so normal.
He just turns into a cartoon.
We're
It's
watching-
flooded by the dragon Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up in a library, back in the library, but it's not the library as he knows it. He accepts himself as a cartoon pretty quickly.
Yep. He does.
This is life.
This is normal. This is just a Tuesday night for me. Okay.
They did really make it look like him, though.
Yeah,
It was good.
They did a good job. It felt like this was trying, and we'll get to why I think it was, but this movie was trying to be a Disney movie. This was
I was going to say, if you didn't
Yeah.
know, you would think it was
Yeah.
a Disney movie.
because it
see
has
that.
that Disney look to it. And so 20th Century, I think, is the one that produced this. DreamWorks wasn't around at this point. So
I think these are the same people that did like All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah.
That made more sense to me when I read
We're
that.
back, I think.
yeah. So he's a cartoon, and we meet up with our first book,
Adventure.
Adventure.
Who is
Fun.
Patrick.
Stewart.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
He's a vibe.
I did not even realize that was his voice.
Yep,
He does
is
the pirate
that
so well.
Good. So Patrick
Yeah,
Stewart,
same.
he's old now, and it's funny because in his younger days, like he played in the original Dune, he had a career. The man is a legendary actor. This was his first, Whoopi Goldberg, and somebody else's first, Leonard Nimoy's first animated voice work ever.
That kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, because then Leonard
Whoopi
Nimoy.
Goldberg's career in voice work took off after
Yeah,
this.
Leonard Nimoy went and did Transformers and all that kind of stuff, the cartoons as well. So this was a launching point for a couple of their careers in the early 90s when it came to animated voice.
Another interesting tip, fact about it, Patrick Stewart and Whoopi Goldberg recorded
Yeah,
together.
on site.
Yep.
Nice.
I love it because they're so well. Again, and Vicki mentioned this. You've got Patrick Stewart, Whoopi Goldberg, Leonard Nimoy, Robert Picardo is in here somewhere. So there's 4 actors who are Star Trek alums at this point, or will be.
I know
Star
who
Trek
Picardo
alums.
is. He's the one that
Robert-
did Jack Jekyll, I think.
Yeah, he did Jekyll. He's in Voyager. He has a turn as Voyager later on in the late 90s as an actor. So there's Star Trek alums all over the place in this thing, and I love
It's
it.
kind of fun because
Yeah.
it's not it's not a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I
So
think there's only one voice actor in this movie that was already had a very much established voice acting career, and that is the guy who plays horror.
oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
he is actually the voice actor for Fred in Scooby Doo.
That blew my
original.
mind.
That's
And
hilarious.
so he is also like the way he changed his voice to
Yeah.
do horror
yeah.
Lord, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
When I looked up the cast, because when I was a kid, I didn't care about who was in this.
Right,
you know?
Right.
But seeing that cast today, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. This
Professor
movie.
Xavier was in this movie.
Yeah.
It racks and stacks. And so the mom and dad, the actors, they actually were in the TV show St. Elsewhere. And they were husband
Yeah, they're
and
pretty
wife.
big too.
Yeah, they were like Ed Begley Jr. I think is the male actor. I can't remember the female actress, but they have had their own storied acting times, like incredible. I think Ed Begley was in a Stephen King movie at some point. He may have been in the Langoliers, maybe.
Oh,
I don't know. It's been a while. So anyway, so we meet Adventure, and he is fantastic. I loved any moment.
So fun. He's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and Patrick Stewart leans into him and just eats up the scenery. Like there is just no, like you're just like, all right, this character's got layers, and he does eventually. We get some more layers to him as it goes. So he's excited, and I guess he's the first one that he shows the library card to, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can get out of here.
Yeah.
The magical library card.
Yeah, you take me with you. That's the deal. Do you take me with you when we
I'll
get out of
take
here?
you to the exit if you'll check me out.
You check me out. Which you have to then. So each of them talks about that. They all three kind of talk about how they haven't left. They've been stuck here. They've been stuck in the library, and there's an allusion to the fact like the kids weren't reading, or kids may not have been reading as much. And you look at Macaulay Culkin's character. He doesn't read much. He reads his newspapers probably. He reads his articles. He knows
The encyclopedia.
Yeah, he has the encyclopedia. He's a very statistic heavy kid.
But he's not fiction.
No, he's
not a
not.
fiction
He's
guy.
not immersed in because it's scary, and every world he ends up in, he's terrified of. He's just scared, like crazy. I don't want to do it.
And some of it understandably so.
Yeah. Yeah. So but he slowly but surely is able to kind of find himself and get himself. So we meet Adventure. We go around with him a little bit, and then who do we run into?
Fantasy.
Fantasy next.
Oh boy, this sassy exchange
she
here.
is so sassy.
You made me drop my pantyhose.
I was like, oh, I don't miss 90s
Yeah.
pantyhose. That
No.
trend needs to stay dead.
No pantyhose.
No more.
Yeah. So
It's such a pain.
I love it too because like when she introduced herself, she's like, "I'm Fantasy," and then she's like, "Oh wait," and then she like fixes her glasses and puts on her little twinkles, and she goes, "Oh no, hi, I'm Fantasy."
Yeah. She goes from being like this kind of like whatever, what you want, what you got, to being like, oh, I'm prim and proper. I'm Fantasy. I love Whoopi Goldberg because not only is she an incredible actress, but her voice is so distinct.
Yes.
It's so full of power. Like I would listen to her, and I would love to see her play. Like I love Sister Act. I love Sister Act 2.
Yes.
Both of those movies in my mind are Oscar-winning movies. I know I'm in the minority on that one, and
No,
I would
Sister Act
agree.
2 is legendary.
Yeah.
Lauryn Hill.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh,
Monkey Bone.
yeah. Yes.
All
Yes.
the
Oh, I'm
songs.
surprised you actually like that movie.
Yeah.
That movie is crazy.
It's been a bit. But is Monkey Bone with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We probably couldn't do it on the podcast.
No, probably not. But that's Brendan Fraser, another actor who
Yeah.
is amazing, and he won his Oscar last year, which was amazing. So anyway,
Another comeback story.
I know, and he's still going. He's still rocking and rolling. And I love it. Someday we'll get a George of the Jungle sequel or something with him.
Oh God, it was so good.
Or he was also in what was that movie with Drew
Oh
Barrymore?
my God.
After it was like, oh shoot.
You
feel
said
like he was
George of the Jungle and Brendan Fraser. My mom's going to listen to this
George.
and go,
Watch out for that
George
tree.
of the Jungle.
my mom had the biggest crush on him from that movie.
That is like the only George of the Jungle that I like say is real. Like that is my George of the Jungle. There is no other one.
I think there was
There's a cartoon.
second
There's like but no, it's only Brendan Fraser.
So they were in what movie were they in together?
Like Drew Barrymore and Brendan Fraser.
It was
Really?
like a
I think a Blast from the Past, but I don't know if Drew Barrymore
Yeah.
was Drew Barrymore in that one.
maybe
I'm thinking Alicia Silverstone.
Blast from the Past. Blast from the Past cast. Let's find out if I'm right or
I think it's
wrong.
Alicia Silverstone. Let's see.
Probably. I've known. Yeah, it's Alicia Silverstone.
I knew it.
Oh well, I was close. Both of
No.
them are 90s actresses.
They look completely different.
And they're completely different ages. E.T. versus Clueless.
There's a movie mashup you could go for.
I love Clueless. That
Yes. That was the Mean Girls of my
Get in.
generation.
Is it the one where like get in, loser, we're going shopping, or is that?
That's Mean Girls.
That's Mean Girls.
No, whatever.
Ever.
Oh, whatever. Yeah.
She didn't do the assignment. I can't do mine.
And the depends.
Oh yes,
The
the,
little
the,
fluff.
oh my gosh, I wanted one. Okay, we have to move on.
At some point, we're probably gonna have to do a Clueless review.
Yes.
It's a modern interpretation of Emma,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
which you two have watched with me,
Why can't
and
I
you
think-
didn't hate it.
You would like the guy in it, and I can't think of his name right now.
From
Clueless.
Clueless.
What is the guy that she likes?
Guy
Yeah,
and Clueless.
Paul something.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd,
Yeah.
America's youngest immortal
When he was, like-
actor.
Honestly, personality-wise, they're kind of similar.
Oh, there you go.
Like I Mr. Knightley and Aaron, they're similar.
Okay. Yeah, Clueless was 95. So good old 90s.
Yes.
Movies that were made in the 90s could not be made today. Let's just be
Well, they
very...
were like the Valley Girl.
Yeah.
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 Movie's brilliant.
Yep.
It is.
Okay, so we're back to...
We're all over the place.
We are.
Oh, sorry,
We
you
are
gotta stay
swerving
focused.
all over the
All
road.
right, so they met fantasy.
Yep, they met fantasy.
And I want to pause here.
Okay.
Because this movie is an hour and like 15 minutes long.
Very reasonable time.
Yes.
And from this point forward, this movie is a roller coaster.
Yes.
And then it's over.
yeah.
And then it's over.
yeah. It comes to an end pretty quickly.
It does.
But so now we're like at the point where they're like climbing the shelves.
Yeah, and so they get transported into horror, don't they?
Well, they're climbing the shelves and they're pulling out the books. They like pulls out 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Right, and uses the
And-
water to get... Okay.
There's a squid. The
Yeah,
giant
and
squid
like
chases
all,
him.
Oh, yeah,
like
so-
all this stuff
yeah,
is
yeah,
like coming
so-
to life out the books.
So Adventure, I think he's the one that pulls the 20,000 Leagues Under
He
the
did
Sea.
it on purpose.
Because so the kid's like, I'm not climbing. I can't climb. I'm scared of heights.
Yeah.
And so Adventure says, well, screw you, kid. Give me 10, 20 minutes. And he pulls the page out and whoosh, all the water. And then the squid. And he's like, oh, the squid. And Adventure, I'm just as sure, is just like, ha, 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 gotcha. And so we have
You're going to be climbing now.
You gotta climb now. It's either that or get eaten.
Yeah, and then he like falls. They fall into a hole in the shelves.
Yep.
And now they're in Horrorland.
Yep. Yep. So Horrorland, it's funny because,
Okay, he's my favorite.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's adorable.
He is so cute.
well, I think because we talk
Happy
about
birthday.
I just want to hug him.
that moment is one of my favorites.
You know, I think that it was.
I can't.
I think that was actually improv
Really.
because his mouth is not animated when he says happy birthday.
Oh, okay.
He's like, I'm just going to throw this in there.
Yeah, he just blows it out.
That's
so.
hilarious. So yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
so horror is funny because he's not what you would think. Like adventure is and fantasy is like sunshines and magic wands.
Expecting horror to be the
horror's
sinister
the
voice.
coward.
Yeah, horror is
He's
the
a teddy bear.
Yeah.
he's the cowardly lion and he's scared of everything. And he's like, they're like, oh, we got to go in the house. And he's like, no, you don't. You don't want to go in the house. And they're just like, okay, we got it. Well, and they did a great job with his illustration. Like, he just looks, like you said, like a teddy bear. You're just like, you want to hug him.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
look
like
at
when
him
you
and
first
go,
see him, you're like, oh, but then you get to know him, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
He literally looks like
guy.
the Frankenstein monster.
He does.
But he's not supposed to be Frankenstein. Apparently, he's supposed to be Quasimodo. But I thought he was Frankenstein
Yeah,
the
Me
whole
too.
time.
so,
I feel so much better.
so there's a point in the movie where he goes, sanctuary, sanctuary. I'm just like, oh my god,
Okay.
it's fantastic. So the interesting thing of note, there are trailers that feature a Frankenstein monster
Yep.
in the previews. Frankenstein monster doesn't appear in this movie. So again, there's the trivia on this movie is light. There's not a lot of detailed trivia here, but there is significant evidence to suggest that there was supposed to be a Frankenstein moment or a Frankenstein monster scene, probably in the horror section somewhere.
I remember seeing it in the behind the scenes too.
Yeah. So it's
So yeah, it was I guess meant to be, but
Well, and how they were like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're like throwing out all these like big title names, like
Yeah.
Odyssey and all these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be why not put Mary
Frankenstein.
Sherry? I mean, Mary.
Mary Sherry. Oh, a spot of sherry with
Yeah.
your no, Mary Shelley.
Yes, Frankenstein.
So Mary, and so I'm going to put a pause on that for a second. Mary Shelley was one of the, if not the, or was one of the, and someone would suggest that she was the innovator of science fiction. Frankenstein is one of the first real dark, gothic, scary, like terrifying sci-fi horror kind of books. And she was young when she wrote it.
Yeah.
So she's playing around with all these larger than life writers. And here's Mary Shelley just going. And what I've heard talked about is that a lot of those authors that she palled around with, a lot of them are sort of known, like they whatever. But Frankenstein will last forever.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And you think about the themes that are at play in Frankenstein and the themes of all the characters. What's interesting is the horror book. He at some point says "friend,"
Yeah.
which is a callback to the Frankenstein monster and his desire for friend. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just like
I know.
in stereo, surround sound.
So cute. That's why I thought he was Frankenstein. He just always wanted a friend who's misunderstood.
It's actually pretty amazing how much little tiny details they put in.
Yes.
And it's like. With a movie from the 90s or the late 80s or whatever, there are moments where I'm just like, I want to just check out. There was only one moment, and we're getting there. But but everything else was like, okay, let's go. Let's see what I'm interested. I'm pulled. So the story is complex. The story is interesting. The story is you want to know what's going to happen to these guys. You're like, where are they go? What's happening? So yeah, they end up in the mansion, in the haunted mansion, and Dr. and Mr. Hyde are
because the exit is like behind this, right?
behind-
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Okay.
They have to go in the house
So
to
to
get
go to the
there.
house to get there, and so initially they meet the normal guy, whatever, and then he.
This is another part that scared me as a child.
Yeah, he turns into a monster.
Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
Like, and then you got horror just whoa.
Poor guy. Didn't want to come in the house in the first place.
I told you guys. I know this story too well.
It's like I live here.
I've got a few T-shirts and a couple of rodeo belts too. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
So they running to escape from him.
A very quick escape.
Yes,
Like,
It's like
so
boom, boom, boom.
Doesn't the chandelier fall on him?
Yeah, so the chandelier falls, and there's a couple of moments where where Macaulay Culkin's character has the opportunity to save them, and he
No,
can't.
he's still
Yeah.
afraid. He can't.
So afraid, and so in this moment, Fantasy goes and she saves him, and rescues him, and they continue on. But you can see in Macaulay Culkin's character that freeze.
What do I do? What do I do?
What do I do? What do I do? And I don't know
Which
how to
is
do
very
it.
normal for kids.
Oh yeah.
Right. Well, so it's time for Counselor's Corner.
Oh no. I'm scared.
Number 4 on the list. Oh no. we're gonna bingo our way through this.
Okay.
So like we talk about the 3 things: fight, flight, and freeze.
Freeze.
Yeah.
And so
There's also fawn.
there's also fawn. There's
It's a new one.
Yeah. So clearly our hero is experiencing freeze
Yes, clearly.
because he just freezes. He can't do anything.
Yeah.
And
He
it's
pushes through.
he does. He works through it. He
Good
gets
for
up-
you. I'm
he-
so proud of you. You're
Yeah.
so young, and look at you go.
What's the fourth thing, though? I'm sorry.
It's,
What?
it's
Fawn.
kind of like
people-
bargaining almost.
Like people
Where you-
pleasing almost.
Yeah, you try to please the person that is having a conflict with you, which is
to
usually
avoid the conflict.
in another
Sometimes.
Yeah.
people that tend to resort to that have usually experienced some form of like childhood trauma or something like that.
Or
That's
or-
what my communications teacher said.
Or they've been
anyway.
trained. That's the
Yeah.
model that they've been shown.
Yeah.
That's how you solve the problem. You just I'll make it all better.
Yeah.
It usually
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's accurate.
Doesn't usually work out so well that way, but there you go. Okay, so then they flee
Yeah.
out the house.
Woo!
Where do they? I can't.
Well, they try to go down.
Yeah.
Because in every horror movie, you never want to go upstairs. They talk
Right.
about that in Scream.
Yeah.
But then there's weird explosions. Like, everybody go up, go up, go up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Horror's like definitely up. Definitely
Oh my
up.
gosh. She made me so mad and scream. So they all just run up the stairs and then she does it.
She does try to go out the door.
I know she does try.
Zoe has some feelings.
But also back it up a little bit.
Yes.
Because I just had an epiphany when you're talking about the chandelier falling. Is that a nod to Phantom of the Opera?
Yes, probably. Yeah.
I just realized that.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably. So again, like to Phil's point, they cram a lot into this movie.
There's a lot.
They are
So
really
many
working- they're
references.
really-
If you
Oh, and there's a Raven from Nevermore.
Yeah.
That showed up too.
Nevermore. I'm just like, oh, Edgar Allan
I know. I
Poe.
saw that. I'm like, called it.
So they go upstairs, and this is where I get confused.
I
There's
forget
so
what-
many books and being referenced to as they head up.
Okay, yeah,
And there's
yeah.
the ghost stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
ghost stories, and they get chased by the ghost.
The Shining was on the show.
Shining.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I
yeah.
remember that one, yeah.
Which kudos to them for putting that one in a 1995 movie or 94 movie.
Kids movie. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the kids
And
didn't have the
Dracula.
internet back then to like Google that right away and be like, "Ooh, The Shining! Oh my god!"
True.
You know, whatever.
True.
They would have to go to a library.
Well,
and ask to get that
I was
book.
trying to think of the first time I saw The Shining, but it was way after that. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then this movie didn't contribute to your experience as a child. Good call. So, do we end up on top of the building and then we climb down to adventure at this point?
Yeah.
No. There's
I think
there's
so.
the boat.
The boat's at the bottom.
Goes to the bottom.
Okay,
They have
but-
to climb down.
So
You're
they climb
right.
down. They get to adventure, and that's where
And let's mention too, almost everything in the background is a book.
yes.
Yep.
Like the cliff is made out of books. The stairs that they go down is made out of books.
Yes.
So adventure gets excited. Oh, smell that hair! It's
Yeah.
adventure. I'm home. Whatever. And then they see the exit sign way out into the ocean or whatever. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have to go to the exit sign. And they go, oh, here's a boat. And then adventure puts a hole in it.
Yep.
Of course he does. He wants an
This is-
adventure.
This is where the kid has a cool moment where he actually saves the day. He plugs the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a handkerchief of some kind.
Yeah.
Which scientifically really doesn't work all that well.
No.
Probably should have just put adventure back in the hole, but
I don't think he would have stayed there.
no.
This is adventure.
He
we're
would have been
talking
very
about.
unhappy.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
So they sail. And
This is like giving me Princess Bride vibes now.
when did Princess Bride
I feel
come
like
out?
it came out after this though.
That came out in the 80s.
Okay, so maybe it is because
there's
like
some-
the climbing down and getting in the
Yeah,
boats,
yeah,
they're all
yeah.
chasing.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well, there's also there's Treasure Island. There's a lot of
and piratey things.
well,
but-
and like Robinson Crusoe and
Moby Dick.
Yeah, Moby Dick. So there's a lot of
okay.
yeah. There's a lot still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're jumping right into Moby Dick right now.
Are we?
Oh,
Is that
yeah,
where
that's
we're-
right.
Yeah, we're headed in there.
It's just like as soon as they sail off, they like talk for like 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
then the whole scene turns red.
Right.
Oh man, the way
And-
they showed Captain Ahab.
What's that quote? It's like, I think he's crazy. I think he's crazy. I think he's insane. That's my kind of guy.
Yeah, that's adventure.
Like Ahab dies.
Yeah, not a great model to follow adventure, but okay. Great message for the
Do
kitty.
you?
Yeah, do you adventure? Just don't come near me because I'm afraid I'm gonna get in trouble with you. So the whale,
Oh, Moby Dick.
Sorry.
You didn't? Is this the
The
part for you?
whale.
the whale.
We don't need to elaborate.
So he
Moby Dick
smashed.
destroys everything he comes near.
Yeah, and doesn't he eat them or he destroys them?
He snaps
destroys
the
them.
boat.
He
just
snaps
yeah.
the boat.
Yeah.
And then okay. I'm with you on this one. I'm
Because
getting
he's like the modern day Ishmael.
yes.
You know.
So
He doesn't get
he
destroyed.
gets back on the plank, and he fishes Adventure out, and he asks where the other two are, and he says, "I looked for them, laddie, I couldn't find them." And so that's your
Nice accent.
I
Nice-
know.
that was very
You can't
cool.
ask him to do it.
Here to
again.
That
help.
was very spot on.
Here to help. So then they row on, and then I think they run into Long John Silver at this
Yeah,
point.
Well, there's
they're-
two other
they're two of
pirates.
the pirates.
Oh yeah, so they're like, "Hey, help us!" And then Adventure's like, "Not all pirates are good." Like he's like, "You gotta be there." And of course, Macaulay Culkin's like, "No, you know me." And then it's like, "Ha ha ha ha! You're a part of us now."
Yeah.
And so they take him hostage. They put him on the boat.
massive ship.
Huge,
The Hispaniola, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
big old ship. And so,
They're from Treasure Island.
yes.
Yep.
So they're gonna
Long
make
John Silver.
they're gonna make them
Yep.
their deck boys or something, or their slaves, or I don't know how they phrase it.
Well, they're gonna kill him first, and then they decide, no, you're just gonna
Yeah.
be one of us.
You're gonna serve us. You're gonna do everything on the boat, and la 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 la. And so then they're looking for land. Oh, they find land, and they land on land. But
Yeah.
wah, wah. So they get on land, and they find the treasure,
Yeah.
but there's no treasure.
There's like one gold coin.
One gold coin.
Just so similar to the story of Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at this point, we get the return of fantasy and horror.
Yeah.
correct?
Horror scares him. He's like, dead man tells or something like that. Yeah.
they're like they're like doing like
He's like doing the
ventriloquism.
ghost.
Yeah. And then there's a fight, and everyone gets knocked out. There's a bunch of coconuts that drop on people's heads, and
Yeah.
it's
More concussions.
more yeah.
Lots of concussions.
The medical bills are gonna pile up on this film, and so then they convince Long John Silver to leave. I think at some point. Like he's. I
No.
can't,
Macaulay Culkin grabs a sword.
oh yeah.
Points it at him.
Says I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna do it. And Long John Silver believes him.
Wow.
He's like, all right, I'm just going back to the boat. See you
and
later.
so and he's gone. And he leaves. And so now they're alone on the island with nowhere to go and nowhere to be.
And he loses his library card.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they find it right here.
Yeah. This is also a really cool kind of character arc for Adventure. So he does not like horror.
Horror saved the day, not him.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. And so he's like, he just is like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." And horror wants to be his friend. Yeah. He like follows him. Like he looks at him like an older
I
brother.
saved you. Can we be friends?
Yeah, we be friends. And no, so he tells off horror. Says, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and then horror goes, okay, I'm gonna go away now. And then he finds the library card and returns back. I found the library card. I found the library card. And they're like, oh, fantasy. Oh yeah. And they, where's horror? He's like, And she's like, what did you say to him? There is no questioning. She just jumps in and says,
She
what?
knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see the prequel to this, where these three kind of like became part of the library and met each other, and they would have cross aisle adventures. That where their relationship would begin to form, and then their frenemy status would be asserted because Adventure was mean to. He has a crush on Fantasy. Like there's definitely some meet cute moments happening. We'll get to that.
But she is scolding him like a teacher, a kid.
Yeah. So he has to go find him. He's like, okay, I'll go find him.
He doesn't even argue. He's just like, I'll fix it.
I'll fix it. So he goes off, and we get the first reference to Gulliver's Travels when he finds horror being tied down by all these little people, and they're gonna do things to him.
Yeah.
And it's like he's like horror's not even moving. No. Horror's like just like his eyes are closed. Like he's almost like he's dead.
Well, it's like he just gave up.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. You feel for him. Like this movie makes you feel things about poor horror.
Yeah.
And so he so then Adventure jumps in and saves him and like picks him up and like literally just carries him back. There's no I'm sorry, just like, okay, come on, lad, let's go home. And there we go. And then they get back, and then I have no idea what happens next.
Don't we get to the Pagemaster?
No.
We're basically almost...
I think they go through the jungle, and this is when the fantasy world shows up.
Yeah.
Oh, with the dragon and all that?
And
Well, they go into a cave.
Oh,
That-
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That becomes a dragon.
Okay. Yeah. So they go into a cave, and I think Adventure's wandering around, and then like
Yeah,
He's
I thought
he-
this was the cave from Monty Python.
no,
It looked like it for a second, like with the rabbit.
this would be more of a cult, I think, to Plato's cave.
I was
Right.
about to... Yeah.
It didn't make any sense, but it
Yeah.
looked like it to me.
Yeah. So he goes in the cave, and then they discover it's a dragon.
Again.
Yeah.
So they
Chases them for a while,
Yep.
setting everything on fire.
Yep.
And
So this is where so the books climb into this little crevice to hide, and Macaulay Culkin's character is running ahead because he's there, he's almost there.
He's like, the exit. The
The exit,
exit's over
and he
there."
looks back and he sees them under attack. Now, up until this moment, he has had every opportunity to try and save people, and he hasn't. He's never fully did it. But in this moment, because we saw him run by a bunch of skeletons with a shield and a sword, and we're like, okay, that's you showed it to us. That's going to be significant eventually.
Now you got to use it.
Now you got to
Right.
use it. So Macaulay Culkin almost kind of wants to go to the exit. Like he's almost, no, I'm going to do it. Runs down, grabs the shield, grabs the sword, and is pretty ineffective against the dragon.
I mean,
Yeah.
fire.
But before that, we get the most... This is not the... Wait, have we had the music video scene yet? With the music of, like, Believe, Alive?
Yeah, that came before. before
Okay,
I was on my way
that's
to the
when
dragon.
this movie was... I was like, that's the moment. Take that out, 10 out of 10. Keep it in.
You're not a Disney guy.
It's not even that. If it was Disney does it well. The Renaissance Disney movies from the Notre Dame to the Pocahontas to the Lion, like all of the Disney Renaissance knew how to do musicals, and they did it really well because there was two gentlemen at the lead who were involved in creating that Renaissance,
Right.
and they get the credit for making and putting in musical theater, infusing it with cartoons. No questions asked. There's a guy on YouTube that if you have, we've mentioned him before, I think. Sideways 720, I think. Hold on, let me find him. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you've never checked out Sideways,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he did the Cats video that we.
Sideways. Yeah, sideways.
Maybe we shouldn't open that can of worms again. I'm gonna get mad.
Poor Vicki.
Yeah. So his
I'm okay.
his account is Sideways 440 on YouTube, and he's on Twitter at Sideways 440. Anyway, so Sideways has a couple of videos about the Disney Renaissance and how they did it so effectively. And like the gentleman who did it, the two guys who led that charge, one of them passed away due to an illness, but the pattern was set. This movie is trying so hard to be a Disney movie.
Well, to be fair, you only get one song.
But so here's the thing. Okay,
And she sang it well.
Aaron has feelings. Let
Yes,
him express
I do.
them.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you for turning my own line against me.
You're welcome.
You're here to help.
You know what? You push her buttons a lot.
That's right. She's allowed to push them back. Yeah. So here's the thing. This is not Muppet Treasure Island. This is not Muppet Christmas Carol. This is not so DreamWorks would do this. DreamWorks movies, cartoons, would put a musical thing at the end of their movies. Like all their movies that were all right would throw in this like, oh, hey, here's a pop song that you know and love, and they're going to make all our cartoons dance to it in a really weird ending scene, and it's great. Look, we're DreamWorks.
I can't.
And
I tried so hard.
It hurts.
so it feels like that. It's like, we need to have a scene. We have a singing in the movie, so we're going to do singing in the movie. Never mind that there's been no musicals moments until now.
Yeah.
And then it never comes back again. And it feels like they were trying to show off some technology because there's some CGI at play.
The
And
fairies were the lightning fairies were kind of strange.
yeah, it was a little much. And I was just like, okay, can we get back to my movie now, please? Patrick Stewart, where you at, buddy? Like, if you could be singing here, it'd be passable. But no, we don't have a Patrick Stewart singing. We have Whoopi Goldberg, for crying out loud.
That's fair.
She's a talent. Like, they're all great music. Wow, whatever. Anyway, so that was the moment.
You would have hated me as a child. I thought everything was like my life was a musical. I was just singing all the time about regular things.
We wouldn't have gotten along in middle school.
We would.
Yeah. Well,
That's when I started getting into music in middle school.
You would have been in our theater troupe in high school.
Yes.
And you would have fit in, but I also would have been like, who is that crazy girl who sings all the time? Why?
Life is a musical.
It kind of reminds me of
I
that.
would have driven you crazy too, because I would harmonize to the bells.
That's cool.
Fine art school, you know.
So it kind of reminds me of that video of that little girl that's like standing on her sink, looking in the mirror,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I love my mom, I love my cat.
Yes, Aaron knows this video.
Yes, I know it. And I like that video. I appreciate that video and its energy in certain chunks.
Yeah.
But 8 hours a day, every class period,
Yeah.
and at the theater.
Excuse me.
And after school.
we would have been frenemies, and then
I think we already are.
yeah. No, we're friends.
Don't lie.
I appreciate who you are and what you bring to the table.
Aw.
Even if I like to kind of annoy you sometimes.
It's okay.
But it's done in a nice
I know.
nice way, friendly way, question mark. I
My
don't know.
face hurts from laughing.
Anyway, so
Moving on.
yeah, moving. So that's my statement. Is that scene just feels really out of place. And if it wasn't in there, if you just
I wanted like references
excuse me.
to actual fantasy books.
yeah.
That was what bugged me about it.
Yeah.
For the record, where I was like, oh, we're not getting references to like
Yeah. Yep.
Peter Pan.
Yeah. Like,
So then
There's one Alice in Wonderland later.
I mean, we
I'll
get
give him that.
We get Alice in Wonderland. We
Yep.
get Jack and the Beanstalk.
True.
yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before he comes back to save them, Adventure tries and stands up to it. To do that, though, him and Fantasy like make out, or
Well,
like,
you know, he
it's
gets
the
burned and
weirdest-
she's like touched by it or something, or she's
Yeah,
like, be careful, something.
yeah. So there's some flirtation, and then
Imagine animating that. That
That
was
was-
weird.
yeah,
It was kind of an interesting kiss.
yeah.
I mean, just
leave it at
imagine
that.
two books kissing. Okay. Yeah.
So
And then he,
I gotta see if they have a picture because I don't
You know what?
remember.
I thought you were looking for something to go. You
And
look
he
so like
says-
lost.
he says the craziest line. He's like, "You want to cuddle up with a good book?"
Yeah.
And she kicks him
slaps him.
out. Kicks him out the
She slaps him. You hear the psh, and
Yeah.
then
He
he gets
deserved it.
thrown out.
thrown out the cave. And then she comes back and she's like adjusting her pantyhose again, and she's like,
Yeah.
I was quoting that line
I can't.
for a while at night.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to curl up with a good book?
"Yeah, it's so yeah, I love it."
Yeah. So there is.
Oh my god!
I just rewatched
She
it.
found it.
No, they have a picture.
Yep, she found it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
The books kiss.
Okay.
It is.
I
wild.
missed that. I guess.
It was wild. I was like, okay, we're doing this. I guess.
But they're so cute.
They are. It's all in good fun, but it's just that moment of like.
It's
all right.
even better when you know that they were recording together in
Yeah.
the room at the same time. I mean, just imagine Patrick
Do you
Stewart
think
and
they
Whoopi
really
Goldberg.
kissed?
No.
Maybe.
No.
We
You'll
don't know.
never know.
Dear Whoopi Goldberg.
Please let us know. We need to know.
Dear Patrick Stewart, can you please confirm or deny what happened during the filming together? Anyway, so yes,
Back on the rails.
back on the rails, back on the trail. So he goes and fights the dragon, loses, and gets eated.
Get
Get eated.
Yeah. He eats it, then gets eated to bring in the cool kids words that they use these, or I don't even know if eat it is a thing that kids say anymore.
You're trying to imitate FX.
No,
He
I'm,
dead. That's
Yeah,
what he
he's
would
dead-
say. I
dead.
thought so. You do with
he got
eated.
he got eated. So the students will say like I yeeted it, like they threw
Oh
it.
no!
Do
I
it.
see what you're-
Oh, I
Yeah.
got it.
So
I haven't heard that in a while though.
Yeah, it's probably already outdated. We're so out of touch. So he gets eated, and then he ends up in the stomach, and it's all books.
Yep.
So this dragon's been eating some books.
Yeah.
This dragon's not been up to no good, and he then hears the pagemaster going, "Look to the books, look to the books," and so he looks. He goes through a bunch of books, and I think this is where the Cheshire Cat shows up with Alice in Wonderland.
No, it was the Queen of Hearts.
Oh, the Queen of
Oh,
Hearts.
that's
yeah.
right.
Off with his head.
yeah.
And he's like, nope. And then he goes through like 2 books. We don't get to see their titles, but he's like, nope,
Yeah.
nope. And I was like, okay, well, what are we saying no to? Like, what?
Those aren't helpful.
Those aren't helpful. Want to see what book titles they are. And then he gets to Jack and the Beanstalk, and he goes, yes, and then the Beanstalk. So, like, if you take a step out of this moment, and you think about how this felt for the dragon.
Oh no, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
So, like, ow!
Yeah, that's one of the words he would have used.
Yeah.
So he opens the beanstalk. The beanstalk comes out and basically chokes the dragon.
Oh, it's
Blech.
kind of graphic.
Yeah. So then
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked.
Worked.
It's brilliant.
They got on their way. So then they get up to the exit. And they get in the door and they meet the Pagemaster.
Which he looks so cool.
Yeah, he looks.
All
he
the
look-
books are all like bowing down to him.
Yeah, and here's Macaulay Culkin's character going, "You need to understand," and they're like, "No, stop talking. This is the Pagemaster. Shut up, kid." He keeps on going, and the Pagemaster basically tells him, "Look, if you hadn't gone, if I had just showed you this now, you wouldn't have grown. You wouldn't have learned. You wouldn't have
Kind
experienced."
of the Wizard of Oz. It makes me think of
Yeah,
that.
a little bit. Not as like vindictive and kind of like shallow,
Right.
but very much like this. You had to go through this. I was watching you. You had to do this. And so I think he then says, "Okay, well, I think it's time for you to go back, or you can go back now, or something." And he goes back. Does he fly out, or how does he?
Sorry.
He
I
just,
don't
he
know
just
why I think that's so funny. You're just like, he just flies away.
He just yeets away.
I think he just wakes up.
That's what I thought
He
too.
just wakes up. Okay, so but he fall. Okay.
He's got a concussion.
I mean,
Yeah.
Another concussion. So then he wakes up, and the librarian is like, "You took a cruddy fall, hard hit, you kid." And I'm just like, "That's number 1 on the list."
for how long?
Yeah.
And magically, he has these 3 books by him.
Yep. And yeah, because we fall, he kind of just the paint puts him back into place. The books fall, and then he gets up to run away, and then goes, "Wait." And he looks at the books. I'm supposed to take them. And he picks them up. He says, "Oh, you only have 2 out at a time." He's like, "But they told me to take them." Like,
Yeah.
this kid is totally transformed. And the guy's like, "Okay, just this once. It's okay." He's like, "Okay." He checks him out, and he just whoosh goes and rides his bike without any of the things. The safety gear is gone, and this, I think, came out after E.T. probably, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the launching off of the jump is definitely an E.T. moment, I think.
Yeah.
There's no other real like literature that I can think of right now off the top of my head that had this kind of
Which I guess would be kind of a little fantasy.
yeah.
Meh.
Yeah. So he jumps and he succeeds and he gets home. He rides home.
Straight up the straight up to the treehouse.
Yep, straight up in the treehouse. And his parents, who have wondered where he was,
Frantically searching.
they go home at night and they're like,
Good
where
parents.
can we call the police? And then they see his bike. Wait, he's home. And then they go up and they see him sleeping in his little treehouse
By this book.
by the books.
But see, this was my moment of like, this was the 90s. Because what parents nowadays are going to let their kids sleep outside?
Right, I thought the same.
Yeah. Well, not only that, if the 90s were, okay, well, he's probably just out somewhere. We're going to go find him, and they've been searching for him.
Yeah.
There wasn't the real panic of like, oh, no, what's happened to him? It's like, oh, we'll have to call the police now because we've been looking all day.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are listening who are not old enough to have lived up in the 90s or the early, very early 2000s, we were free range.
Yeah.
We were,
Yeah.
you could go and do whatever. You didn't, you just.
I mean,
need
I
to-
had limits, like, stay in the neighborhood.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
have to stay in the neighborhood.
You're not a female.
Yeah, well,
Right.
okay, they're fair.
Both of you.
So,
Well, I had to stay in the neighborhood.
Mine
There's
was like,
a certain number of streets. Like,
My
it's
mom's-
like, don't go past this one, come back once you get to this
well,
one.
so where did you grew up in Georgia?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up in?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
So, a little bit different worlds, I think, ish. Littleton, Colorado, back in the 90s was small. It wasn't. I mean, it was small-ish, but it was small enough that there wasn't a lot of like, okay, you're worried about girls or like kids were just hanging out and going hang out with friends or whatever. So we would go down to the creek and walk through the creek and
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Crawdads.
Crawdads. Well, not crawdads. We were worried about leeches, but
Ooh.
yeah, that was always.
Thankfully, that was
we
never
had,
part of-
We
No.
had crawdads and copperheads.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So back in those days, you were free range. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have pagers. We didn't have any way to get a hold of our parents.
I
So
used a payphone
yeah,
once.
I used
High school.
I used payphones a lot in high school to get a hold of my parents because that was the
yeah,
only way to get a hold
literally.
Yeah. Pick
So-
me
Pick
up.
Me up.
of them. Yep. Come find me.
Call and collect to do it.
Yep. I do that a
Don't have
couple
any
times.
quarters.
Yep. So that was that. So yeah, we were free range. We didn't have to be worried about that. Obviously, in 2024, it's a lot different world. There's a lot of competing ideas about free range kids versus not free range. It's a,
And I mean, I could have sleepovers in a tent outside in the back, like kind of what he was doing.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Different time. So the parents go and find him. Obviously, he's at home, and they're like, "Oh, he's okay. He's fine.
Go inside and go to sleep.
Go inside, and go to sleep.
Turn lights off.
That's it." But then we see our books and the shadows, and they're still alive. And so what I love about this movie is that there's still that idea of the imagination has been awoken. And what I feel like as those shadows represent is those are his dreams. He's dreaming about his
that's
friends.
what I thought
and stuff
too.
like that. So it's I like aside from the stupid musical number, which again it's my opinion that it's a stupid musical number. Your mileage may vary. That's a pretty good movie. Like it's just a lot of fun to watch. There's great characters. I mean, like who was Leonard Nimoy was he was the voice of Dr. Hyde.
Yeah, Dr. Jekyll,
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
That was the Leonard Nimoy. I forgot about that element, and I loved hearing.
Or was
that.
he Long John Silver?
Oh,
I think he was Dr. Jekyll.
I think he was Dr. Jekyll. Yeah, he was. He was definitely because you could hear the voice of
Right.
Spock in there.
I just, Phil can attest to this, but I was just kept going. I noticed all these voices. Who are they?
Yeah.
Well, obviously Whoopi Goldberg.
Jim
that's an
Cummings
obvious.
is Long John Silver.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Jim Cummings, I believe, is the voice of Winnie the Pooh. Am
Yes,
am
I
correct?
think you're right. Actually,
I'm checking.
I'm pretty sure.
He's Tigger.
Oh, Tigger.
Okay, one of
So that was the one.
But he's the
Because
voice of
I
Winnie the Pooh
said
too.
Tigger.
well, because you
No, Winnie the
thought
Pooh, you're right.
horror kept sounding like Tigger.
yeah. I don't know. There was something that was just like
So Jim Cummings is the voice of Tigger and Winnie the Pooh.
interesting.
So, and Jim Cummings has had a very storied history in Disney animation and beyond.
But he's. I remember. I've told my elementary kids because they've been introduced to Kaa in the Jungle Book, and I'm like, "That's Winnie the Pooh, guys."
Yeah.
And they're you so watch. It's fun to watch their minds just get blown. Like, what?
Yep.
Same voice.
Yep,
Same guy.
He's got a powerful voice. Anyway, so we'll go around the world on ratings of this one. Again, if it wasn't for the musical number, 10 out of 10. With the musical number, 8.5, 9 out of 10. Just because it's such a jarring kind of moment for me. But again, I look at it differently. We'll go with Vicki next.
8.5, 9.
Okay.
I agree. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give it a 9.
Yeah.
Crunch,
put a
crunch,
cookie
crunch.
in my
I heard
mouth.
the crunch.
I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's a feel-good movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those 80s movies that still holds up.
And it did
90s.
not get good
90s, sorry,
ratings at all.
No, it was horrible rating.
They got bad ratings.
Audience and critics.
Which I don't get.
I think because it's a lot like some of the movies we've done where the movie is just a little bit too much. And maybe during the 90s, this would have been like, whoa, what are you trying to do? You're really pushing the envelope here.
I mean, could it be that people just don't know these stories?
I mean, the 90s, they would have. It's still, I mean, now in this day and age, you ask anybody, about some of this classic literature, they're going to look at you and be like, oh, what? But in the 90s, at least, there was still a lot of
I mean, I
focus
was
on
reading
that.
all that in high school.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So I think it may have just been, and who knows who the movie.
I don't think the target audience, like younger kids, would have necessarily
Known
known
about like Treasure Island and stuff.
Yeah.
about like Moby Dick and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's unfortunate because it's a good movie. So if you've never seen The Pagemaster, you need to look it up, check it out, give it a watch.
It is a epic.
Yeah.
I would consider it an epic. It is a journey.
Yeah.
And it goes from one place to another very quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't let you down. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't try and like create things. It's just it's pretty paced pretty well. I liked it a lot. Well, there you go. That's our movie for this week.
Yay.
Any other nerd news we needed to talk about? Phil, I have heard nothing good about Halo, the series right now. It has been getting pilloried.
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Season 2 has been getting beat up. Angry Joe was very unhappy with, I think, episode 5. He said, I'm done. I've had enough. I quit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy. Well,
Okay, Angry Joe.
Angry Joe's angry. I was talking with somebody over this last week, and they were saying that they liked it because it wasn't the Halo story. And I kind of looked at them and I said, okay, but
Right.
that's
That's the point,
That's
right?
the point of the
Yeah.
show is for the Halo to be the but okay, you do you, bud.
I've just read that this season is apparently setting it up to get into the current state of where Halo is at now.
Okay.
So if they make it past this season, anyways.
Here's the thing that makes me frustrated about these TV series is they take a property, they take a genuinely strong property that you're like in your head you're like they can't screw it up. There's no chance they mess this up, and then they do.
Yep. Well, same thing goes. I'm worried about the Fallout series now because the director or somebody said that they're not worried about pleasing the fans, but they did also say like the fans don't know that Fallout 3 literally took a year of my life. Like,
Right.
So I think they said that like in a sarcastic kind of way.
Right.
Like, I'm going to make the story I know,
Right.
and I'm not going to try to please everyone.
Right.
But we'll see.
It's yes. You have
I have something. Yes.
yes.
That Vicki will like.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yes.
I was gonna let you finish. But
No.
I got excited because I just remembered. I guess they're doing a Frozen live action with.
Interesting.
I can never say her name right. Barbie. Margaret.
Robbie.
Yeah.
Okay.
She will be
She'll be Elsa. She has to be.
in 2025.
Huh.
Okay.
And I was excited because I love Frozen, and I feel like you would too. So
I honestly can't think of Frozen now without thinking of our niece Madeline.
Yeah. So
2-year-old niece. Frozen!
she loved watching Frozen.
it's
I was just
amazing.
demanding it to Aaron, and then it got onto it. Oh, Frozen. She's really relieved. And Aaron just gives her this look of horror, like,
It did give me the opportunity to watch Frozen 2 for the first time ever.
yeah.
Frozen 2 is epic.
I enjoyed it. It's not going to win any awards in my cabinet, but you
The
know,
music.
it was good. Music was all right. So I want to talk about this, and these may be interesting to either of you or not interesting, but Phil, hopefully it will be. Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
So there's
Starship Troopers, the video game.
yes. So the thing about what's happening is, so when Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. It's still getting beat up. It's not doing
Sony's offering refunds for it, which they never do.
right. So
Wow.
that's hilarious. A bunch of other other series of games have been coming out and not been doing well. The release has been just it's bad. What happened with Helldivers 2 is they didn't they made a game for you have to go home and watch the gameplay videos. But the reviewers, the YouTube gamers, they talk about how the game is designed to just be fun. Like, it is just a nonstop thrill ride of shooting up aliens, shooting up robots, and saving democracy is the whole fuel behind it, because you want to...
Yeah, if you've ever seen Starship Troopers, it's exactly that. It's
Yep.
satire.
Yep.
It's fight and die for your country, your
Yep.
planet.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say the community around Helldivers 2 can be a little toxic.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like, if you go in and you're not wearing the right gear, they'll just bully you or kick you. Or
Oh, jeez.
so that, I mean, you get that with every online co-op game, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exploded on my Twitter, and I don't even follow the account of
Right.
the Helldivers 2.
Yeah, it's all over my YouTube timeline, because I've been watching a lot of Helldiver gameplay and Helldivers reviews, and people are genuinely like, "Oh, Skull and Bones was the other one that bombed," and people are hating on right now because it's just an absolute disaster of a launch. It's bad. It's not good. It's
a pirate ship game.
Yeah.
It's not a pirate game.
no pirate ship.
Yep, just pirate ship.
Yep, it's dumb. I've played a little bit of it, and I was just let down with the first 30 minutes. I was like, "This is what they spent 7 years on. This is what however long they spent on. It's really bad." So there's a lot of games that have come out that have not done well. Starfield actually has had a bunch of updates. I played it for the first time in months, and it was sort of okay. It still had issues, and I was still just like, "Okay, you fixed half of it, but the other half you didn't fix." I did play to the end game.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and I talked about this before, and then we'll get back and we'll close out the show. If you've ever played No Man's Sky, the end game there is all about alternative universes, and you are able to go to different whatevers. It is almost like, it feels like shot for shot a remake of No Man's Sky's story and its ending. Because you become one of the Starborn, and then you get to transfer into this new universe where you're a Starborn, and you start the whole thing over. But things have changed, and locations have changed, and people have changed, and whatever.
I feel like you lose a lot of the stuff you worked for up
Yeah.
to that point too. Like, you
Yep.
lose your ship.
Yep, you lose all of it, and you become Starborn. And
And it's like, well, why would I finish the game then?
right. Well, because they do offer you can stay in this universe, or you can go to this one. I was like, oh, let me go see what the Starborn has to offer. It was not. I mean,
Not it.
the ship is cool, but it's just like, okay, so what's the point of and when you show up, they're like, "Oh, your ship is weird," and that's the extent of it. They don't go, "You're weird. We need to talk to you. You're not of this planet or this unit. Your scans this. It could have started a whole new narrative,
Right.
and a whole new story, but nope. Just
Your
Have you
ship
heard-
is weird.
yeah.
Have you heard about the latest disaster though?
Oh, do tell.
The Star Wars Battlefront collection.
Oh.
It released with 3 servers that could only maintain 64 people. So, no.
Yeah.
How do you screw up
Yeah.
a game
You had
from
one
over
job.
10 years ago?
Yeah. Well, that's EA for you.
You know what? I actually have the original Star Wars Battlefront 2
Okay.
purchased digitally on my Xbox, so I don't need to play the remake.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't play online on that, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
can,
so
I
what,
can still go play a fully complete game that works.
what Phil is referring to is, so there was the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2 Star Wars games, and they were legit. They were great fun. They were crazy. You could do so many players. And then EA did Battlefront, a new version with super new graphics, and then did Battlefront 2.
Which I thought those were okay. Battlefront 2, the newer one, after they got rid of the microtransactions,
Yep.
Zoe and I played a ton of that game together. So
After that, I think it got better.
Yeah.
But it put a bad taste in everybody's mouth when you've got all these
God.
microtransactions and ways
Terrible.
to pay to play, which, I'm sorry, not everyone has money to just throw at EA. It just doesn't work anymore.
it's one of the examples of some of the most egregious microtransactions, to the point where they actually the community did get them removed.
Yeah. Well, there was gonna be like a lawsuit. People are gonna sue about so yeah, it's a whole thing. So Helldivers 2 has taken and is just blazing a trail. Like people are, it's like Baldur's Gate 3. When that game launched, people were losing their minds at how good it was. And similar with Helldivers 2 is it's hitting all the marks. People are able to have fun and they're able to be parodies of themselves and do all that stuff. So my buddy of mine's like, you need to buy it. I'm like, I gotta wait for payday, bud. Like I gotta hold on. Like I can't just drop $40 on a game. It's actually pretty affordable, but it's still $40. So yeah, no, that's the state of games right now. It's interesting to see how that's all going to play out. I don't know.
There's some good stuff out there. You just got to look for it.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing is that I think gaming companies are starting to realize, hey, we got to actually put out good games. People want to play. Like,
Yeah, because people are putting out games that cost like half the price of ours, and they are blowing us away. People.
Yep.
Like,
and their player base. The Helldivers 2 player base hasn't dropped. It's grown.
and it's like Power World.
Yeah.
The developer of Power World said that they are having issues because they're making too much money.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
What a nice problem
I would
to have.
love to have that problem, you know?
That's amazing.
I could find something to do. You know?
But I think that's the thing is like people are hungry for good games with good story and good mechanics. They're done with the Ubisofts, the EAs. They're done with these guys who have thought that they were the biggest guy on the block for so long. And the realization is you ain't. You got independent developers and smaller companies who are taking you to the cleaners.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't have to play the latest EA game because, man, I got this one that's got replay value up the wazoo. Like I can do it all.
Like Five Nights at Freddy's is like $2 on your phone.
Yeah.
I could play that forever.
Yeah.
Well, that also comes down to preference.
Yes.
Aaron's not going to.
Well, no,
he
but
wouldn't
I
get
mean,
it for free.
But give me a city builder. I mean, City Skylines 2, for all its faults, it's still a lot of fun to play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of replay about. I have gone back and played Skyrim over spring break multiple times because I absolutely love the story. And there's mods like crazy that I can add in and play a new adventure and explore. And that's what people want. So there you go. That's the latest from the Nerd News headquarters. We are not a headquarters, nor are we a news organization, but we like to pretend that we are.
We're a cult. No, I'm just kidding.
Send us
I was going to say
money.
we're a dungeon, but
Yeah, now I can't even.
jeez. Now, Vicki can't even now.
Can't
Oh
even.
no,
Now you done messed
I
up.
messed up.
You've done it now.
I got in this kick over spring break where I found out about the Duggar family and
Yeah.
Ew.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. Well, what was sort of weird is we went to a bookstore over break as well, and I was like, oh, I remember this book from college, and I was reading through it, and I'm like, there's a connection to like the Duggars, and I didn't know, and I was so frustrated.
Yeah. It's all about making sure you double check your stories and your histories and your informations and all those things. That's the way it goes. All right. Well, my name's Aaron,
My name's Vicki.
I am Phil.
And I'm Zoe.
and this has been Nerds by Screenlight.
We are not a cult.
We are not a cult.
I was totally kidding.
Just want to make that so clear to the internet.
Please do not create butter sculptures of us and worship them.
Butter sculptures?
Why would it be butter?
butter?
It's the first thing that popped into my head.
Oh my god.
Well, because like there was the mashed potato sculpture from Encounters of the whatever.
All I'm thinking about is that chocolate cake that we like. We could be made out of that.
So please don't make us out of butter or chocolate cake.
No sculptures,
No
please.
sculptures, please. No pictures, no sculptures, and no cults. And on that note, I don't know what we're going to watch next week.
Me either.
Okay.
We talked about Dune Part 2, but I don't know because Dune Part 1 is 3 hours by itself.
Oh,
What?
gosh, yeah.
I didn't even know that.
And
That's part of the reason why I haven't watched it yet.
yeah,
Oh.
and Dune Part 2 is I think 3 hours.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if it's Dune Part 2. We might do Clueless just because that would
That
be
would make us happy.
Yes.
and it's all about making people happy on this podcast.
Make the women in your lives happy, guys.
Yes.
And it's a vibe.
it's yeah.
It's coming back too. Like,
Yeah. Oh no, I don't,
Really?
I don't.
oh yeah, it's all over TikTok. People
That
love
makes
Clueless.
me
Yeah.
happy.
Well, everything old is new again. So there you go.
Literally.
All right. Until next time, this has been Nerds by Screenlight. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The raspberry flapovers will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.
You've been listening to
to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.